Hi everyone, we're reaching the end of our summer themed cookies, so with that I wanted to show you our popsicle cookie. Now most of you know by now I use two consistencies, so outline and a flood. So here I just wanted to show you what my flood looks like because I get a lot of questions on it. And see when I part it with my spoon there and when the flood comes back together, so that line sort of disappears. Normally people count that and that's how many seconds their flood is. So my flood is about, let's say, 8 to 10 seconds depending how fast you count, which is a pretty loose flood. So that's what I like to use to have the flood settle by itself. You can see that, you know, when I'm going through the flood, it kind of just melts into each other without me having to shake the bowl too much or wiggle it around. And that's kind of what I like to use. So I'm going to use my outline here, and now notice how my outline, when I'm piping it, it stays in the spot that I'm piping it, and it holds that kind of shape to it, that rounded piped line shape. And so that's the difference between your flood and your outline. There's more powdered sugar in it versus the flood that has more water, so it's a lot more stiffer than your flood. I like to let my outline dry for a few minutes and then I go in with my flood. So I'm trying to cover up as much as the outline as I can without going too much over. And if you go a little bit over your outline, I find that it doesn't fall onto the other side because the rest of the flood is piped, let's say, on the inside of the line. So that rest of the flood kind of pulls that flood in. So even if you go quite a bit over your line, as long as most of it's on the inside, it kind of keeps your flood all together. And now you'll notice as I fill it in, I don't have to do too much wiggling or use my scribe because it kind of melts together. So that's why I like the fast flood. And in smaller cookies, in smaller areas, you have to control the amount of pressure on the bag because if you put too much flood in there in a smaller area, then it might overflow the cookie. Here I'm just using my scribe because I'm just mixing in the color. The color separated a little bit on me and I didn't mix it in my bag, so that's when I went in my scribe to kind of mix it up a little bit more so you don't see the lines, the darker streaks in that. If you notice that, you can mix your piping bag up with your hands, just kind of squish it in between nice and good for a few minutes and you should be okay. Icing separation is totally normal and it usually happens especially with darker colors that are flood. And so you can put them in the refrigerator overnight. That usually helps slow separation down a little bit, but it's okay if it happens. So here I'm just going with my white flood. I'm letting all my flood do the work. So notice I'm not going right in with my tip. I'm just pushing the flood out to where I need it to and just get those nice drips. I want nice smooth lines. So that's why I'm letting my flood do the work and using the pressure on my bag to do the work for me. And notice the purple part is kind of dry because I let that section dry so that when I do the white one, they're not going to melt together and they're going to keep the separation. I don't want those colors to kind of melt together and be even. I want them to be a little bit separated so it looks like there's nice drips on top. And I started with the purple color, that way I could do these two steps one after another. So when my purple dries a little bit, I can do the white and this popsicle stick in the brown at the same time without having to worry about one section. If I started with the white on top, I would have to let the white dry, then I would have to do the purple, let that dry, and then do the popsicle stick after both steps had dry. So this way you kind of kill two birds with one stone and get it done quicker. Now notice here I used only one consistency because it's a very tiny area, so I'm using my flood, which is not super thick, and I fill it up nice and high there, and I just use my scribe and it easily wiggles nice and smooth. Thicker icing means less craters and gives us a perfect cookie. Hope you enjoyed those summer cookies. If you haven't seen the other tutorials, you better check it out. And of course, happy baking! See you in the next video.